which is a little bit nuts.
So, Nate, let's just jump into it. Let's not be scared, okay? So, half of my comments want the names of the individuals
Yep.
that are operating as a Delta guy, as a Navy SEAL, and a
Yep.
Ranger, okay? I'm just going to put it out there. My job is not to put my family in jeopardy. That's my job, okay?
Yep.
I am willing to talk about something that's public knowledge, but I'm not going to tell you the name that I have, okay? I'm not going to tell you the people that I have because I'm not going to put myself in a position where some dudes show up to my house. Like, it's not that
Yeah.
important
No,
to me.
100%.
It's not that important. I called one person who is at the top of the food chain, and he said, yes, we know who it is. We know
Okay.
exactly who the Delta dude is, and we know who the two Navy SEALs are, and there's more than one Army Ranger down there with them. Yes, we know that. I said, okay. That's all I can do to confirm. You guys can come in my comments and act crazy if you want to. The other thing is that these are not new individuals.
Mm-hmm.
This has been going on for some time. They've been widely involved in it for some time. It's
Yeah.
not like this shit just popped up yesterday. So,
Yeah. Interesting. So, I made a bunch of phone calls too, also, and to dudes, buddies that are active duty in the unit, just asking, and I didn't get into details. It was just literally, have you even heard rumors of this? Okay. Everybody from 7th group to everybody else I had talked to was no. Some of the guys I talked to in the unit had said, and again, this isn't sensitive or anything like that, that they have heard rumors in passing of guys joking about how much money tier 1 dudes could make potentially working with the cartels, but that they didn't know any specifics. So what I said, and I did talk about in my video, is look, I don't know, who knows what's going on at this point. But what I will say is this isn't new and this isn't rare. Okay, like this isn't. We talked about this before, guys. 7th Special Forces Group, 3 years ago, Jake,
oh yeah,
gets caught trying to smuggle 90 pounds of cocaine in 2 punching bags back into the country. That's obviously cartel operators working together. Okay.
So let me say
Yeah, go
this,
ahead.
Nate. That may not be cartel, okay? Because like after listening to the video that we listened to with Pierre, the cartel have themselves insulated. So the fact that they would never be dealing, they're never going to be dealing with a 7th group dude directly. They're not going to put themselves in
Like
that
an
much
active duty,
Yeah, like
Right,
they're
right,
going to
right.
go to one of their distributors, right?
Got
Like a
it.
distributor got the cocaine. They did it. But I will say this, if he's coming from 7th group, Columbia, he may have sourced it directly from the source, right? Like he may
Right.
have cut the cartel out. So, but here's the other aspect, and this is the other thing I'm going to tell people. Everybody was shocked when the Delta dude got killed at Bragg in the woods. And apparently they've arrested somebody, okay? However, I said, what's it take to kill a Delta dude? You better have another Delta dude, right? Like everybody else is playing short stick in that gunfight, right? And so it's interesting to me because when it happened, I said, I was like, did the unit take out their own guy? Because, they got a dude out there doing nefarious stuff, is getting ready to be brought up on a bunch of charges, and they didn't want him to
Oof.
out.
That's a hot take.
That's a hot take, right? They didn't want him to get outed, right? On all the other stuff he was working on. And I said, now it all starts to make sense.
I will say this, and obviously I don't know, but to some credibility to your point, Jake, when we talk about Delta, what is Delta's? Everybody knows, oh, they're the best in the world at X, Y, Z tactically. But what is Delta's real claim to fame in the military is they are the notoriously most professional unit in the U.S. military. Bar none, no one comes close. So what would be a real bad thing to have happen for the most professional and most trusted U.S. SOF unit in the world to have its operators doing shit like leading the cartels and training cartel members? So we don't. That's a hot take, but is it likely that like that type of unit would be like, we're going to snuff this fire out before it starts. I don't think that's that unrealistic of an idea.
And they did. It disappeared overnight, Nate.
Yeah,
Overnight, it
yeah. I
disappeared.
remember seeing
It
it and
went.
the story was
It went.
gone.
It went from Delta dudes doing running drugs on drugs. Like they tried to make it seem like he's on drugs, and the first thing I said was, "That was way too clean to go down like that." Right? Like
Right.
just way too clean, right? Because you know this, and this is what a lot of people don't understand in the civilian world. When you get to that level, you're seeing stuff minutes before it happens, right? Like your telepathic like ability to stay alive in the combat zone is happening
Yeah.
5 minutes before stuff happens. So like if he showed up and he's like, oh, this dude's about to shoot me, his brain is telling him that, like, oh yeah, I'm in danger. Let me get some space. Let me do some things. Like he hasn't stayed along that long in Delta during the GWAT to come home and get smoked in a drug deal. Like that just doesn't happen, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so then it goes back to like, what's it take to kill a Delta dude in the woods? Another Delta dude.
Yeah, man, that's such a crazy thing to start thinking about. But it's also, I like to think about access and placement. Okay, so for me, it's like, how do a bunch of soft dudes get integrated into the Jalisco cartels to begin with? Well, is that potential possibility? Let's think about nationalities, right? Let's think about seventh group. How many do you think? And again, we have, and I'll just use my teams in first group. I had multiple teammates who were Chinese nationals. I'm talking about mainland China, like, and we all knew they were probably spies, and whatever, it is what it is. They're value added because they obviously are Chinese nationals and they know the game on that side, right? But if we have Chinese nationals in first group that we know are Chinese nationals, do you think that there's not guys in seventh group who are from Mexico, from Colombia, from these other countries? And not only that, I talked about this in this video. I don't know if you knew this, Jake. We have a foreign exchange student program in the Special Forces qualification course.
Oh, absolutely.
We have
Absolutely.
dozens of foreign special forces soldiers that come in and go through the Q course with us from Colombia, from Bolivia, from Brazil.
Yep.
And what do these guys do? They take all of this special forces training, counterinsurgency training, all this training, and then they go back to their countries. And Pierre talked about this in the video of, he mentions this, that the Mexican cartels recruit these guys out of, Bolivia and all these different places that have been trained by U.S. Special Forces in Bragg. Like, yes, we do this. In the Q course, I had teammates that were from foreign countries on my teams, guys. So, of course, this is something that could be possible. So when we talk about access and placement, yeah, you can build relationships, right? If you're in seventh group and you're down working in Colombia all the time, you can build relationships. And what does that look like when you get out, right? Sean Ryan talked about that.
I was about to say Sean Ryan. Sean Ryan, right? Like
I showed that clip, his Megan Kelly clip, where he talks about, I had built a bunch of connections in Colombia while I was working as a contractor for the CIA. And guys do that, right? I still have contacts with Afghan interpreters that I worked with years ago, right?
Nate, can we get them to send us some of them 300 night vision goggles? $300 night vision goggles.
We do need some. Real quick, I got a super chat though from Europa Chronicles, $5. Thank you, brother. Nate, did you see that Trench Grenade wants to live stream with you and says that your CIB and ARCOM with V device are participation trophies? Yeah, so Jake, I don't know if you've seen, I obviously did a video making fun of this poor drill sergeant who decided to attack DJ Shipley on tactics. And
Okay.
he deleted
I did see it.
He deleted his video after I posted it making fun of him. But now he's trying to attack me because keep in mind, he's a drill sergeant, never been to combat, but he thinks my combat time, my CIBs, my rank, like they're all participation trophies because I didn't work for TRADOC.
have him. Hey Nate, you know what I always say, bro? I don't know. I'm gonna tell this story. This is I've had two incredible experiences being challenged on the internet. Okay.
Oh, and then Jake, so he looks at my shadow box. Okay. So he comes to the comments, looks at my shadow box from 10 years ago, which is a shadow box from one of my deployments that says staff sergeant. And it's got CIBs, ARCOM Vs, ARCOM Cs, AMCs, all these awards. And he assumes that I'm a staff sergeant. And I'm like, and so he writes this big thing about you need to go to parade rest for me, staff sergeant, and like your highest award is an ARCOM. And I'm like, bro, that's a shadow box full of combat award ARCOMs. My highest award's not an ARCOM. I'm not a staff sergeant. And then he's like, when's your last PT test? And I'm like, he's like got his double chin, you know? And I'm like, bro, I am not all the things you just listed. I am not that guy that you want to compare your career to. But anyway, it's funny, man.
So I tell this, Nate, the internet is abound with 6'11", 400-pound Thors, right?
Yeah.
So I you know, back in the day, I was had a little bit more bravado. I'd be like, hey, show up, man. We can fight, right? Like, I had a challenge last year. My wife made me take down $1,000.
Yeah,
I'll pay
I
for you
saw
to come
that.
down here and get your ass kicked, okay? So I'm gonna tell you two stories that were very interesting from that context, being attacked online. I'm gonna make one really short. Guy on YouTube said he's gonna come and castrate me, kill my wife, hang me in the front of the house. And it's on Facebook. He hits me up on Facebook, Nate. Well, I'm not dumb, so I scour his whole Facebook. I get his whole family.
Yep.
Okay, I go into records. I find out where his mother lives. I call my Samoan connections because I know a lot of them live in Bozeman at Montana State. And I said, hey, who do we have that lives in Bozeman? They're like, oh, Tui's over there. Give me Tui's phone number. Hey, Tui, what's up, homeboy? He said, dawg, what you crazy Samoan dude, right? Played football at Montana State, never left, okay? I need you to go hang a note on this dude's door. You want me to fuck him up? No, not yet. Not yet. We ain't got to get him yet, okay? So I left a note on his door. And I said, you are not out of my reach ever. Yeah. And I put my name, Jake, okay? So I left that on his...
Oh my God, that would be horrifying if I was some troll that decided to do that.
Yeah. So I, as Tui, as soon as Tui puts that on his door, I hit send on 15 Facebook messages to his whole family. And the message was very simple. Either you control this dude right here, or I'm going to make your whole family disappear. And here's the list of 25 people that are going to disappear. Okay? Because you got my address in here, and this dude's making real credible threats. Okay, this was 2011 from Top Shot.
Okay.
Man, about 2 hours later, I get a phone call. It's his mom. Sir, I'm so sorry. In the background, I hear boom, 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 boom. Someone's just getting trashed in the background. You got this motherfucker leaving messages on your mom's door.
Oh, no.
And she's like, his uncles are taking care of it right now. I said, I sure hope so, ma'am. I said, because you don't want me showing up in fucking Bozeman, Montana. And then the one of the uncles got on the phone. He says, sir, he's like, we are so dishonored. This is not how we were raised. This is not how he was raised. We are going to take care of him. Now, he's in the background crying like a little girl as his uncles beat him up. But I know this. I ain't have to worry about that one at all. Okay?
Jake, I got to tell you, because this just happened last night. So for those of you guys who don't know, me and Jake, everybody who's in this public space, we get obnoxious threats and death threats and shit all the time, and via emails and personal message. I got one last night. Okay. And let me read this to you guys real quick. Okay. So this was actually on my instructor website, right? If you sign up for my classes, he decided to read this. Okay. Somebody wrote me and said, you have no comprehension of how much I hate Trump cult members. I especially hate those who support January 6th. The ones in my area are going to get a surprise once they settle and think everything is cool. Fuck you, you piece of shit. Okay, so I get those all the time. You normally make me laugh. But what did this gentleman do? He used his work email and his real phone number. And he works for Pat McKenna Realtors in New Jersey. So what did I do? Oh, let's see if I can share my screen, guys, here real quick.
Give him that gas.
Here we go. All right, guys, you should be able to see this. So what did I do? I emailed the owners and the manager of the company. And I just said, I just want to let you know what one of your employees is up to, right? Showed him the email, showed him everything. So now, as we'll take the screen share off. So now, this young gentleman is going to probably show up to work Monday, and he's going to have to answer to his bosses for why he's using his work email to attack Special Forces veterans. So, guys, please, this guy's going to get fired. It's probably going to ruin his whole life. They're probably going to they're probably going to call the authorities on him because he made actual threats to people in his community now. So, please, guys, use your brains a little bit before you start to do dumb shit. Okay, if you're going to threaten people online, don't use your real Facebook number. Don't do it in general, okay, because it's cringe. But don't use your real Facebook and your real email and your work email and your real phone numbers, guys. Especially not the Special Forces operators who can just immediately figure out who you are if we wanted to. Come on, guys.
Nate, I have yet to have to use the bat phone. I have yet to have to call any of my guys at FBI, CIA, and say, "Hey, man, track down this fucking dude right here." I haven't had to yet. Okay, so here's the other one I'm going to give you. This is a funny one for being threatened online. We're in Ohio. Some dude down in Cincinnati, 3 hours south, finds out I'm in Ohio. He says, "I'm going to come and kick your ass, man." Okay, cool. You want to fight, bro? Come on. Yeah, you're a fucking pussy from TV, Top Shot. You're like a fake Navy SEAL. Okay, cool. Come on, man. I said, "You going to come up here? We'll go right over to the park, right across the street. We'll fight it out, bro. We'll see who wins." So he's like, "All right, man, I'm going to be there at fucking 12. Okay, so I go up at 11. I got a pistol. Okay, I got a pistol. I'm fucking ready, right? Like, well, I'm not getting killed over some dumb shit.
Right.
I might get involved in it, but I'm not going to get killed, okay? So I park in the parking lot in the middle of all the cars, and he pulls in and calls me on his cell phone, and he's like, "Where you at?" I'm like, "I'm fucking already here, bro. You ready to go?" He's like, "Well, I'd like to meet you first in the parking lot where it's safe." Like, okay,
it's public.
Cool. So I see him get out of his car, and he's kind of like looking around, like timid as shit, right? I call him. I'm like, "Hey, I'm in the front of the store." So I wait until he goes by my car. I get out the car. "Hey, Joe, what's up, man?" He turns around. He's like, I'm like, "You okay, man? Well, the park's right on the other side of the grocery store. We're in Findlay, Ohio. So we'll go right over the park. We'll see what you got, bro." And I'm kind of playing with him at this point because I know he understands that he done fucked up.
Yep.
And he starts shaking. He's like, oh my God, you're a lot more scarier in person. I'm like,
"You're way bigger than I thought you were. Oh, no."
He's like, I'm like, "Let's go to the park, man." He's like, "You're going to kill me." And he ran to his car. And I was just like, "Hey, bro, fuck, I don't know what to tell you, homeboy. That shit look good on TV, but don't let it sour the taste." You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, bro. Go ahead.
We got a little bit derailed there, but yeah,
We did. Okay, so what are we talking about, Nate?
We get back to. I want to talk about likelihood. I mean, I know you talked about that. You've heard that definitely it is happening. I want to talk about like sort of risk versus reward and the actual possibilities of this being true, which I think is important. Okay, now people will do crazy shit and take crazy risks for money and a lot of money, and I can guarantee you, what is the Jalisco? Let's say hypothetically, what is the Jalisco cartel going to pay a former Delta Force operator, Green Beret, to train their entire paramilitary units? How much are they going to pay him? When they talk about they're bringing in billions of dollars a year,
$2 million a year.
I would say I would say probably a low end. I was thinking probably close to 5 to 10 as the head guy, right? The number one guy. You don't think that high? I mean, it's in the millions for sure. I would say
I would say probably I don't think it's 10 because 10 is a lot even to them.
Yeah. But would you say in the millions?
In the millions, and I will say this: if they're happy with his work, then he may be popping 10 bonuses, right?
Yeah.
Like
so that's kind of a good start point for I was like somewhere in the millions for sure. And so then you have to ask yourself, as a retired Green Beret Delta Force operator, is $2 million a year worth the risk versus reward? The reward's high, but the risk, let's be clear.
The risk is unlimited.
It's so high, and this is partly what makes me kind of like take a step back and go, is if this is true, let's say it's true, there's no way that somebody somewhere in the CIA doesn't know about this or rumors about this, okay? Which means it would be on the radar. And I can tell you, once this went public, that now the border and the cartels is the number one news media story right now by far. I have seen nothing about it on mainstream media, Fox News, and the biggest thing is left-wing news because and let me kind of like break this down to why I think the left-wing news, if they thought this was credible, will run with it. Following the Livensburger case, what did we see? And what happened in New Orleans? Veterans are the biggest threat to America. The southern border is not the threat. That's what Democrats were saying on the news, okay?
Yep.
So, if the left could find out that a Delta Force Green Beret, 2 Navy SEALs, and a 75th Ranger Regiment SOF operators were the face of the Jalisco cartels, do you not think that they would fucking lose their minds at the opportunity to say, see, the military, veterans, MAGA, SOF, this is the greatest threat to the United States, not the southern border? But we haven't seen any of that. Not yet. Maybe the story's too early. Maybe it hasn't hit the mainstream media. What are your thoughts on that? Because to me, that's highly suspect that nobody has run with this. Like Fox News hasn't aired this, MSNBC, nobody's aired this. I'm not sure. Maybe it's too early. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
Here's what I'm going to say, Nate. Their reach goes too deep.
Whose reach?
The cartel's reach goes too deep. So the cartel, I don't care what anybody says, like they got a hand on everybody. If you're in the bottom states they got a hand on you, bro. Like they just turned over
and you mean
police department
in the United States?
In the United States, congressmen, senators. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Like that's the whole thing. Like, and let's not forget that it's a multi-billion-dollar organization, right? Like, you know, I watched the Pierre thing saying that Trump's doing all this. The whole reason he deemed them terrorist organizations is to get what he wanted at the border, so then he could get the Mexican government, which we know is the cartel,
right,
to get them off the list as terrorists, right? But back to your point, if you say, why hasn't it happened, risk versus reward, spurred a question in my mind, Nate. How much does a Delta dude make if he goes works for Triple Canopy or even, no. I can, I'll tell you about something that's a little different. But how much does he make working for Triple Canopy a day? $1,500 now?
A day, yeah, close to $2,000, $1,500 to $2,000 a day.
$1,500, $2,000. You know, during the war early, it was as high as $3,000 or $4,000, right?
Yeah.
Like
I looked at it about probably, I was gonna say maybe because I weighed this too. I'm like, let's look at alternatives of doing the same thing on the U.S. contracting side, and I was like, he's probably making about 25% of what he could with the cartels, which would be about like $500,000 a year for maybe 6 months work. Would be my guess.
Yeah. And we had guys riding boats. They got $21 or they got $30,000 for 21 days riding ships and all of that stuff. But I'm going to tell you this. I know a pilot that flew for one of the Russian oligarchs and he only got $200,000 a year. However, he got full access to a G5 jet and he could use it anytime he wanted to go anywhere he wanted.
That's kind of nice.
So it was like, he had the job for like 9 years. And, he got out of the job when he said they got shot up in Africa for the third time. He said, man, I couldn't fly back under 10,000 feet from Africa knowing that we had all these bullets. He said, eventually you're going to get killed. So I was like, I'm all right. So that's interesting. I don't think about it that way. I just think about like, how many guys do you know that are in prison for doing real crime? Okay.
Yeah.
And that, right?
100%. What I don't want people to think is like, oh, the risk is too high, so guys wouldn't do it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying when you're a Delta Force operator, like you're weighing things, right? And like, what I mean by that is like, he's not a dude that has to go work at fucking Chevron when he gets out, right? Like, oh, he could go contract over here for $500,000 for 6 months work or $2 million for 6 months work. One has no risk. The other has the risk of going to life in prison. Is that like, what's the cost benefit analysis on this? You know what I mean?
The other one has Ginsu Hellfire.
yeah, right. Yeah, like you're just your boys from the unit are gonna show up one day and kick your doors in, and you're gonna go night, right? There's some high possibility in that. Hey, real quick, super chat from Zuby. Thank you, brother. Isn't it smart for the, and this is good because it goes with what we're talking about. Would it be smart for the U.S. military to call this out before the news? Hold on, guys.
Oh man.
My camera died. Jake, you talk. I'm going to fix my camera.
Okay, brother. So I would say this. There's a news. Let me just talk about being in the news, okay? You don't introduce anything bad to the news cycle, because that way it may not have ever got to the news cycle and you introduced it. So one of the rules of media is if you got something bad, there's no such thing as getting ahead of it, right? Like, there's no such thing. Now, if it's a personal issue with a single person, then yeah, you can get ahead of it. But if it's an organizational issue, you're just going to have a massive plan for when it hits, and then you're going to attack it. Okay? Something that I would think that you'd want to, like this, it's already out there, it's coming. They're going to control it by controlling the media like we're already seeing. So, hey, shout out to Joey Moya. Mug dropped $10. I love it. We in the Bat Cave 100%. I'm going to get the Bat Cave set up. I got to do this back wall over here, move all this stuff over there, and then we're going to have the most gangster setup with scuba tanks and everything. And I got to get a little bit wider vision. I got one more super chat down here. $20 from Taffy3. Hey, man, they said they loved us. And Jake and Nate, he said, fools trying to fuck with us. Man, you better play it safe and leave them alone. That's what I'm talking about, right?
All right. Well, what we could do, I can restart everything, and we can have the regular camera, or we can just say fuck it, and you guys can deal with my. We're good enough.
It's not too bad, Nate.
All right. Sorry, guys.
Nate, do you not have the little battery plug-in for it?
I just switched it to that. I was using the old battery, but the problem was.
You were using the battery?
Yeah, I forgot to put back in my continuous power to my camera.
Gotcha.
I just switched it over. But with Riverside, guys, I have to shut down the entire stream to put my camera back on. Not worth it. This is good enough.
All right, so I got a question. It is probably for you, but I got a good one on this one. How many grenades can you throw out of a backpack in 30 seconds? Period. I would say.
Yeah, this is a good question, man, because like I tell people like in Aruzgan, which is the exact area that Tim Kennedy tells his stories at, including Fob Anaconda, which he says he was stopping being overrun, which my ODA in 2018 actually stopped from being overrun. We carried a ton of grenades in that area, so I'll give him credit. It is a very grenade-heavy area. The most I carried ever on an operation, me personally, and again, this was like, we were heavily focused on carrying grenades, was 5 frags, 1 thermobaric, and 1 incendiary on me personally. So technically that's 7, and that was way more than everybody else is usually carrying. So how many can you throw in 30 seconds? Under duress, because I'll tell you, I've watched myself and my buddies in a near ambush trying to throw grenades, prep and throw grenades into a compound while being shot at through doorways. It's way harder than you think at nighttime, trying to get the pins out, trying to get them ready. You're going to get maybe 2 grenades off in 30 seconds. If you're like ready, they're prepped, you're good to go. You're not hucking 50 grenades in one setting, guys. It's not going to happen.
Okay, Nate, do you guys prep your grenades? So like we bend down one of the tabs and then we put a wrap of duct tape on them, or we put a rigger's rubber band, right, to hold the pin to it. So it's almost like it's got 2 safeties. You got to pull the pin, then you got to get you just wipe the rubber band off. Did you guys have them prep like that also?
Yep. So what we do, one sec, I'll get to these super chats real quick, guys. So what we would do is same thing. We would bend one over and usually like wire cut the other one and then duct tape the handles down. So basically all you had to do was, and you'd have like a pull tab on the electrical tape, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So you guys realize it's like a spot of the tape that's not taped down where you grab it, you undo it, then you only, and the reason why you do this is like, if I can't get that prong out, having only one there, if I need to, like I can grab it and yank that fucker and it will come out if I need it to, like man strength it through. Whereas if you have 2 of them like rolled over, not prepped at all, guys, gloves on, like getting shot at, that's nobody wants to be in that situation. So yeah, we would prep them pretty similar to that. Oh, real quick,
All
super
right.
chat. From Taffy3, $20. Thank you, brother. Got you, Nate. Got you too, Nate. Y'all stay safe. Love these lives. Does SF leading cartel worry you if it's true? I mean, I'm not like stoked on the idea that like Delta Force dudes and Green Berets and SEALs are training like the entire paramilitary unit of the Jalisco cartels. That's kind of scary. The likelihood of it, I don't think is that high necessarily, like large scale, right? Like, so I
I'm
don't
gonna
know,
give
but
a different
also,
take, Nate.
yeah, let's see what Jake has to say about that one.
Okay, so Nate says it's unlikely. I'm gonna flip it around and say, how did the Jalisco cartel almost take over all of Mexico?
Yeah, and I thought Pierre, I didn't know this at all about. He did a great that interview, guys. Go watch that Ironclad video. It's super good.
It's
Like
amazing.
part of what I say in my video is like initially when I heard that, like Jay sent us that, I was like, here's the story. I was like, oh, bullshit, right? I just immediately was like, bullshit. And then I watched the Ironclad interview with Pierre, and I was like, oh shit, dude, this guy, the guy who said it knows more about the cartels than anybody I've ever heard. And he walked us through like how the Jalisco cartel actually formed. And the difference was, guys, like as he explains it, they were a paramilitary unit that became a cartel, whereas most cartels are a cartel that try to get better at, paramilitary stuff. So like Jake said, is like, no, this isn't just like a cartel, not the Jalisco cartel. This is a legit high-end elite paramilitary organization that decided to start doing illegal activity, right?
Oh, another one. So everybody was hazing me about the SA-7s, which is a shoulder-fired anti-aircraft Russian missile. Okay.
Supposedly, guys, the same weapon system that brought down the helicopters in Operation Red Wings. Supposedly, just so you guys know what Jake's talking about here.
Do you want to hear a little Red Wing trivia, Nate?
I mean, my channel's been begging me for the Red Wings video forever. I'm gonna get to it because I have a bunch of information on the backside commo failures, right? But Jake does too, right? There's so much controversy in that. But yeah, why not? Spin it off. Everybody loves it.
How about Stinger missiles?
I mean, that's the Mujahideen special right there, brother. That's how they beat the Russians.
They got shot down with Stingers. It was not SA-7s, and it was not RPGs like they claim. They got hit with Stingers.
Yeah, it's funny because I've heard so many different things. The SA-7 never made sense. So yeah, I would be far more inclined to believe that.
Them and Red Squadron both got hit with Stingers. They did not get hit with SA-7s, and they definitely didn't get taken down with a fucking RPG. So I had a bunch of people in my comments.
I know that's the dumbest one.
Okay, bunch of people in my comments saying that the Jalisco cartel did not shoot down a fucking aircraft in the Mexican. There's a ton of articles on it, all saying RPGs. Okay, why do they say RPGs? Because you would have a catastrophic failure of your country if people knew that they had SA-7s and they are shooting down military aircraft with missiles. Okay.
Well, let's be clear so everybody in the chat knows, guys. You do not shoot down a military aircraft with an RPG. It's not going to fucking happen. Okay? Like an RPG, basically a mock version of an AT-4. Me like pointing this thing up at a plane, at a helicopter moving at 100 miles per hour, shooting it, and them not having the ability to move out of the way, an RPG, or me even like, imagine like this shot you'd have to make to hit a helicopter 4,000 feet in the air with the RPG. It's not a thing, guys.
So they did shoot down helicopters
in
Somalia.
If you're close, if you're very close, like if you're
Somalia.
Close, like on a rooftop, the helicopter's landing, sure.
They had the most gangster shit in the world in
4,000 or 5,000 feet in the air. Like no RPGs.
Happening.
Yeah, it's not happening. That takes an anti-aircraft weapon system like an SA-7 or a Stinger.
And how did they shoot down helicopters, Blackhawks in Little Bird in Somalia? They had pits dug in the road that they covered, and then a guy would lay on his back with the back of the RPG for the backblast in the hole, and they were shooting down helicopters that were 100 feet above them, and they were clipping the rotors. Right?
Of course.
Like it's possible, But the helicopter has to be at the ground. Like you're not shooting down a traveling helicopter.
It's a helicopter that's literally letting the troops out for the most part. It's a little bit different.
Yes.
But anyway, get back to your point about the cartels using SA-7s. I don't know why would people think the cartel, like the Jalisco cartel that brings in billions of dollars a year, they wouldn't have access to something as basic as an SA-7? Why would people think that's so surprising? To me, that's common sense. Of course they do.
And I saw another article where they had javelins. Like, and I haven't even watched.
Be surprised.
So there's a couple dudes that cover narco stuff. That, I mean, they got millions of followers. And I started watching some of the stuff because there's a bunch of video. I thought I had a picture of a guy carrying an SA-7, but it wasn't an SA-7. It was just it was a grainy video, and I couldn't see all of it. But I'm telling you, man, like this is the stuff that I don't even want to debate about, right? Do they have SA-7s? It's a narco paramilitary unit. You better believe they have SA-7s, okay? Do they have 50 cal machine guns? Well, we know that. They're running around in technicals, okay? They're running around in up-armored SUVs. Like
yeah.
You better believe they got it, right? Like, come on, man. Like, do they got radar? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they got a whole radar installation and they're like, oh yeah, here they come. You know, we know they got thermal. We got we seem to think, and this is one of the things, in our military, most of our technology is at least 5 years behind, if not 10. Okay.
Oh yeah.
They're buying shit off the shelf right now, the freshest, hottest thing, like integrated night vision with thermal, right? Like, I don't know. Anyway, we got off track a little bit. We're gonna talk about another topic here. I have to.
Somebody said they have MRAPs. Yeah, I mean they do. I've seen them rolling around in literally up armored military vehicles. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not rare. All right, we're about 40 minutes in. Why don't we switch gears and go to our next topic? What I think is this is going to be a little bit of a transition here out of insanity, and then we're going to talk. What are we going to talk about next, Jake?
We talking about kids, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so me and Nate both talked about doing a video. We're going to talk about it here. I have 3 boys. Nate, what do you got?
Boy and a girl. 14.
He had a 14-year-old boy and a girl. Okay, so here's the question that we're going to bounce back and forth. So Nate, we'll start with your boy. 14-year-old boy. I got a 13-year-old boy. Same place. You got 8th grade. I got 7th grade. Okay. Would you want him to go serve in the military? Let's start at the military level first. Would you be pro or against going to serve in the military?
Not only would I be pro, but that's like the active plan to get him there. The idea being either West Point, the Naval Academy, Air Force Academy. I'm trying to do it the smart way for him, right? Because again, Dad went the enlisted route. I went the enlisted route. Didn't necessarily have to, but for him, right? Now that I know how the whole system works, and we're talking about opportunity, success, all those things, I'd like him to go to one of the premier academies. But yes, I mean, I've made videos on this. Joining the military, if you are 18-year-old man, unless you're going to go work construction for a couple years, get your hands dirty, blue collar, I think it's the easy button. It's just the easy button to lifelong success for a young man.
Absolutely.
All the things you're going to, let's say you do 4 years. It's not just about like, oh, you're going to get set up with the GI Bill. But yes, those are important things. But you are going to, at 18 years old, right? You're going to become a part of a team. You're going to get a purpose. You're going to establish discipline. All of the things that most 18-year-old men need but will never get, you're going to get up front. And then on the backside benefits, right? GI Bill, VA home loan, like VA healthcare, all these things for the rest of your life. Nothing else is going to provide that. And not only that, comparatively to what? Go to college, spend 100, 200 grand in debt. Hopefully you get a job that can pay that off, or you do it for free once you get out. So from the military standpoint, like all my kids, like, yes, easy button.
Even your girl.
That's the baseline. Yeah. Air Force though. Only Air Force.
No, that's fine. Because
if that's the case.
So I would make an argument, right? Like that I agree with your statement. Like I wholeheartedly agree. Make sure we need to get your kid on the phone here this year, okay? Because there's some things we need to do to make sure. I'm 100% getting people into the service academies, Nate. 100%. I have not ever not got a kid into one of the service academies. So that's easy. And it's easy coming from you. Like it's easy, okay?
Right.
But we got to do some stuff in high school to make sure that when we apply the beginning of our senior year, that all our shit's in order. One of the other big things you got to do is line up your congressional nominations. So there's a couple things you
Well,
got to do.
fortunately, my dad was a big time politician, and we've got plenty of those. So,
Absolutely. So
but yeah, but
anyway,
let's talk the
to the
soft
point.
side, right? Isn't that
So
the kind of the next level up?
so I want to talk about your girl though. So you're gonna send
Okay.
her to the Air Force.
Well, probably not. I mean,
Okay.
that's going to be up to her. I'd like it, but she's the creative brain. So
Okay, because I'm gonna say this. Last thing I'm doing is sending a female to the military.
yeah,
Let me say this. Let me change that. I am only sending a female to the military unless she's gonna fly. Like I will send a flyer to the military, but sending a female into the military, Naval Academy, West Point, Air Force Academy, I'm not real big on it because they do have a hard time there. Like it's not a wonderful experience. I got a couple females. I got a female at the Naval Academy right now. I got one at West Point. I understand it's just you got to have a different person to go do it. Like she's got to really be about that life.
yeah,
I have a good friend whose daughter left one of the academies because she was like, I can't have kids. This isn't really fundamental to who I am. And I
right.
was like, yeah. So, okay. So now let's talk about the big whammy. You got a boy. I got three of them. Special forces. Okay. So
Yeah.
I'll give you my take. Would I love to see one of my boys go be a Green Beret, a Navy SEAL? Absolutely. But as I sit here at 53, I'm like, is the head trauma worth it? Like, will I let one of my kids play football? No, won't. We ain't gonna happen. I don't give a shit. Ain't gonna happen. Kind of the same thing, right? They want to go be a SEAL. Go be a SEAL. It only takes 6 years in the SEAL teams before you're broken for life, right? Like,
Yeah, I was 7.5, and I was of team time, and that was it.
that was it. You got both your arms ripped off. You're fucking young. You're young now, and in 10 years, your opinions are gonna change. My opinions changed a lot when I was healthy before I
Yeah.
started fighting all this mental health issues and stuff like that.
For sure.
So what about your boy? Like what is the
I mean, let's talk family lineage, right? It's for me, my grandpa in the 82nd jumped into Normandy on D-Day. My dad, Green Beret, Vietnam. Me, Green Beret, Global War on Terror. So there is 0% chance that I would, let's say, try to dissuade him from becoming a Green Beret for a lot of reasons. One, I've done, you've seen my content. I've done a lot of content on why we're not role models, dark side of special forces, all the negative shit that you are going to incur in being a Navy SEAL, being a Green Beret, and especially as long as like someone like I did it, right? But the positives also are extreme. And what you're going to
Yes, they
be
are.
like when you talk about becoming a man, right? And actually becoming a man, and testing yourself and what putting on a trident, putting on a Green Beret is going to do for a young man for the rest of his life. There is nothing comparable. And I saw a comment in the chat, and I like this one because I see this a lot, that said, well, you're just going to go join the military to carry out the will of the pointy-hatted people, right? Israel and all these things. Let me tell you this. Do you guys not know how the fucking world works? Go work for Goldman Sachs. Go work for Chevron. Go work for whatever X company you want. You're doing the exact same thing. It is the same people in charge, okay? You're not
Same
better than
cats.
anyone because you decided to go work for a civilian company who the same people are in charge of. So if that's your reason for not joining the military, you're dumb as fuck. Sorry. Oh,
and Nate,
didn't mean to hurt your feelings on that. But let's be real. Like the
Yeah.
system is the system is the system. Whether it's the civilian sides, the government side, contracting side, it's all bad up top. Okay. But for me, there's 1,000 positive reasons to one, join the military, and two, to go soft. If you're gonna join, I tell everybody this, if you're gonna join the military and you want to make a career out of it, then you should want to get to the other side of the fence in whatever capacity, whether that's SF, SEALs, Delta, civil affairs, PSYOP, aviation, I don't care what it is, have the goal to go to the next level in special operations, because the next level is special operations. Okay. But again, the military also isn't for everyone. So you need to be cognizant of your own kids, as we're talking about kids. If you've got a kid that's, creative brained and different things like that, and they have no interest in the military, forcing them down that road, I don't think is going to be beneficial either. Real quick, I got some super chats, Jake, and then I'll let you
Yeah, I do too.
caveat on that. All right. War Pig, $20. Thank you, brother. Very generous. SEALs should be disbanded for corruption. 100% worst dudes I had to work with. We'll let Jake take that one after the next super chat. And then we've got Krishna Karanam. I probably butchered that. Sorry, brother. $20. Thank you very much. They pull in $5 billion a year in cash. I'm assuming you mean the cartels. Cannon will buy whatever it needs to survive. Latest night vision, comms, weapons, best SMEs, military personnel, judges, everything. Yeah, I mean, that's 100% true. They definitely do that. Jake, you want to take that? SEALs should be disbanded. You guys are the most corrupt, worst soft unit ever. What's your thoughts?
So it's interesting. If I was in a position and never got asked, I think the SEAL team should go the way of SF. Meaning, one of the things that the SEALs do that I think hurts us in professionality is we have a bunch of young kids running around the SEAL platoon. Okay?
Very young.
I love how the Green Berets have a bunch of E7s, right? A bunch of E6s, like very few E5s, very few E4s. Like
no E4s.
No E4s. Okay, so in the SEAL teams, you're gonna have a couple seamen in your platoon, right? Like they're gonna be junior, maybe one. I had one in mind. Chavez was a seaman, an E3. So if we just allowed E6s to serve in the same platoon and E7s, and we didn't cut it off at chief, we could have a more professional environment because you would have an older SEAL platoon. Now, what do we have problems in staffing in officer corps and E7 and above. So what do? We take all those E7s and we make them they get a platoon, and then they may get another platoon, but after that, they're staffing, right?
So you have E7s as the team sergeant of your teams.
Yep, E7.
Yeah, that's much different than how we're.
And we don't have a warrant, right? You guys have a warrant.
I've seen E7s that have a junior position on an ODA. They
Absolutely.
are the secondary to the higher ranking E7. That's like how much different we are over there.
Yeah. And the other part of it is you guys are rolling in with some experience. Unless you're coming out of the 18 X-ray program, you're coming out of infantry, which is a similar job. Whereas in the Navy, there is no similar job, right? Like you're always going to be a new guy in the SEAL teams anywhere you come from, unless you come from the Marine.
Do you think I've talked about that when I made basically some of the two same arguments when I've said why I think the SEALs struggle, and one of the biggest one I've said is, well, the Navy doesn't have an infantry to pull from, right? Like, and again, even as an 18 X-ray myself, everyone around me was either infantry or came from that background. So you have this massive amount of knowledge. Do you think that part of the problem in the SEAL teams is that you have an entire force of guys who don't have any infantry or sort of combat arms background who then come into the SEAL teams? Like who's teaching you? Like guys who also didn't have combat background? Like how does that actually work,
So that's one of the things that, like, for me, when I got in the SEAL teams, I was a fucking savage, bro. Like there wasn't a lot. I tell people there wasn't a lot that I learned SEAL team wise, other than like I knew how to rappel, right? Did I know how to fast rope? No, it's the same thing with gloves on. Okay, so I didn't really learn nothing there. Shooting wise, I didn't learn other than natural point of aim, natural point of impact, but I didn't learn anything shooting wise, right? Yeah. Woodsman skills, navigation, all that stuff, I didn't learn nothing. Like I grew up in the South Fort Lewis. Like I fucking woodsman skills, tracking. I knew fucking tracking from first grade, trying to find a fucking raccoon who had a leg hold trap on him in the fucking in the gulch down by fucking First Street, right? Like, so tracking wise, like all of that stuff. But when you come into a SEAL platoon, the E5, really the E5 and the chief, but there's a ton of like just fieldcraft teaching, right? Like, hey man, you keep walking through that fucking bush, bruh. You have the 60. I need you to walk around that bush, right? And then I remember we were doing night patrols, man, and we weren't running night vision the whole time. And my chief goes, "Hey, man, how do you fucking know where these trees are at?" I was like, "What?" He goes, "These fucking trees. You always walk us around the trees. Most people walk us through the trees." I said, "Fuck, chief. All you got to do is glance up. You see the fucking dark shadow at the top fucking thing."
Right.
He's like, "God damn." Right? And I'm like, but I had taken that for granted, right? I've been in the woods many a night with no flashlight, and I'm not going to try to walk in every fucking tree on South Fort Lewis. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
But that's the kind of stuff that the young dudes teach, right? And it's all E5s. Like, we call it the E5 Mafia in the SEAL teams.
Yeah, we have the E7 Mafia.
Yeah, you got the E7
SF
Mafia,
is the
right?
E7. Everybody's an E7. So we also
which
get
is 6 years.
Yeah, we get
years.
That's true. Yeah, I hit E7 at pretty much the day I hit 7 years in service. Which
No,
is
I'm saying for us, E5 to E6 is normally 2 years, and then E6 to E7 is 2-3 years. So you're talking about 5 years different in age span, right? Like your E7 Mafia, and you start later. So your E7 Mafia, we talked about this. Your E7 Mafia is 35 to 37.
Yeah.
Like our E5 Mafia is 23.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know,
that's actually crazy.
With that comes a lot of maturity. You guys don't got guys going out and getting smashed every fucking night. My dudes, if I don't go with them, someone's getting a DUI. So I'm the designated driver every time we leave fucking to go get drunk. You know.
Interesting. Hold on 1 second. I'm trying to find my.
All right, I'm gonna hit the super chat. G-Man, $20.
I lost them.
Even if it's true, training quality of finished product must not be stellar if they are getting killed. So here's what I'm gonna say, G-Man. Okay, they sacrificing the E1s to E3s to win the battle. Okay, don't get it confused.
Yeah,
they understand military combat. They're gonna sacrifice some low level dudes to give the people some wins, so they think they're winning a little bit.
Yep. Is that you got any more? I got some here too. I'm gonna read off.
I'm way behind, brother. I got another 20.
Hit them up.
Okay,
yep.
so
let's catch up. Hey guys, let's catch up on some super chats and do some talk.
I got 20 with no question. Appreciate it. Don't know who you are. Hey Nate, I'm telling you, man, I'm at 466. They love this shit.
Yeah, we're at about almost 700 over here.
Man,
this is our biggest one yet. With my our camera goes down. I got the shitty camera on our most popular episode yet. We're growing each week. We've got more and more, which is awesome. I appreciate you guys showing up.
Turbulence inflation. Do you think the whole VA system, disability system, will change dramatically? Here's what I'm gonna say. I just talked to Jamerson this morning. I've got to talk to Nate.
I've got info on that as well.
I'm gonna talk to Nate offline on this. Here's what I'm gonna tell you. Okay, if you have a disability and you are doing something on social media that makes that disability not look like a disability anymore, you are a fool. Because I'm going to guarantee you they are going to come back just like they do with Social Security disability, and they are going to start investigating people that claim to have a disability but are on YouTube benching 315, and they got 30% on both shoulders. I'm telling you that's coming after watching my man at Dodge get after some people and fire some people. They are going to start investigating VA claims, and Jamerson was telling me there's a dude doing 8 years for fraudulent VA claim, and he was a fitness influencer.
That's what I was going to say. For me, like I have 100%. I also have 10 major invasive surgeries. I'm also in good shape. What does that mean? Well, if they investigate me, they're going to find out I have a bunch of metal rods and anchors in my shoulders and knees, and I've had 10 major invasive surgeries, and I'm fucked up. So make sure your claims, if you're gonna put those claims in, and they're bullshit, that you don't do what Jake's saying, right? Make sure you have the actual medical records to back that up, and you didn't go through that fraudulently. I will say, actually, we'll talk about it offline before we talk about it. But no, I don't think when we talk about like benefits being taken away from people who are qualified for them, no, it's not going to happen. Not in the near term. But is there going to be some? Is there? And people got mad at Andy Stump when he talked about this. People got a little bit upset at me when I sort of defended him about this, that yes, there is a lot of fraudulent activity in the VA claim system. There is. And are they going to look into that? I don't know. If they do, are they going to find a lot? Yes, they will. We'll see.
Yes, they will. Yes, they will.
Also, what I will say, though, is, it is a delicate game to play, because if you're the right and you decide to start targeting disabled veterans, ooh, that's a gamble. That is a political gamble for you.
It's a little different.
Even if there is a bunch of fraud and there's a bunch of people taking advantage of the system, when you go after disabled veterans, the backlash can be severe. Let me hit these super chats real quick.
Let me say something real quick. It's a little different than finding fucking 18 million dead people on Social Security.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody can go, that's bad. But when you start targeting disabled veterans that are, like, especially from the global war on terror and things like that, Vietnam veterans, tough game. All right, real quick, super chats. Kangaroo Bot, $20. Thanks, your brother. Appreciate you. Eric Prince said it best on Andy Stump's podcast. Join the most elite unit you can, because you'll be much more happy with the people that you serve with. That is a great quote. I know I must have missed a super chat. I'm sorry. Well, I'll get back to. Actually, I see some here. All right, I'm going to be caught up here. That's a great point. And I talk about the things I miss in the military, right, after retiring. I don't miss being in the military at fucking all. Not for 1 second do I miss putting on the uniform, waking up at 5 a.m., being told what I can and cannot do, even in SF. What I do miss more than anything is being with the boys, right? Like being on a team life. And if you want to be around, like Jake would say, hitters, right? Like dudes that are seeking out to being the best in the world at the job they're doing, then yeah, you want to be in a tier 1 unit. You want to be in a tier 2 unit. Why would you not, right? You're around people that want to be successful. Nobody got there, became a Navy SEAL or a Green Beret by being lazy and not giving a fuck. It's not a thing.
And the other thing, it kind of ties into my question, right? I wanted to go SEALs because it was 6 months of hard training. And I felt like going in the Marine Corps was the same 6 months of hard training at TBS. The only difference is in Marines take that hill. I have no control over my casualty rate. As a Navy SEAL, oh, buddy, if I'm not fucking up 100 to 1 in odds, I'm not fucking taking it, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not playing fair. I'm in the night. I'm hoping it's raining. Like I'm fucking coming from every angle to stack the deck in my favor. And it's not like, I didn't want to be a Marine infantry officer and have to fucking take Fallujah, right? I got a couple boys that were in Fallujah. My boy Doug Zimbeck, man, and he said it was fucking hellacious.
I'm going to tell real quick, it's a perfect representation of that from one of my buddies who's a Delta Force legend. He's an the Oregon Hall of Fame. He was in Fallujah. But one sec, let me hit these super chats real quick. Call sign J47, $2 advice on USAF SOF prior to Army with a VA rating. I'm not sure you mean as prior Army with a VA, which means you got out, you want to go back in. I don't know. I doubt you're even going to be able to be qualified. Their standards are so much higher than everybody else's. Like getting a waiver in the Air Force Spec War is like not a thing, from what Aaron has told me.
And let me say this. You're trying to select in a community that has 150 people show up, and they're selecting 5 to 7 guys right now. They are also coming down 50% in their Air Force Special Operations manning. So TACPs was at 42% or 4,200. They're coming down to a little under 2,000. AV Spec War, Air Force Spec War is the worst place in the world to be right now. Yep. Worst place.
And it's the hardest to succeed in. Like when you talk statistically. All right, real quick, let me get through these super chats. I'm getting blown up. Krishna Karanam, again, thank you very much, $5. Maybe Buds is so physically demanding that a lot of me and Jake have talked about this. A lot of older dudes just won't make it through that pipeline. Jake can comment on that. That's 100%. We've talked about that. You're just 35-year-old dude is just not going to make it through Buds. It's not. He ain't gonna
make it through Buds. But I will say this. And this goes to my super chat, right? If recruiting from the Marine Corps, every SEAL platoon has probably 3 to 4 Marines on it, same as an ODA team.
Yeah, we do actually.
I think the Marine Corps is an awesome feeder program for SEALs. The Marines that I knew in the SEAL teams were more mature, had a better understanding of what we're trying 100%. To do, grew up in an infantry unit, and they were fucking hitters in the SEAL teams.
On the ODAs too. My team that I went to Afghanistan with, 2 of the 12 guys were former Marines, Force Recon Marines. And they were like the best dudes on the team. like the most professional. Like, yeah, those guys are awesome. All right, I gotta pound through these. We got some big ones. War Pig, $20. Thank you, brother. Best dudes I ever worked with were in first group. Shout out to my alma mater right there. I was a 35
T-Town!
mic, Humint dudes. SEALs in Iraq always thought they didn't need me. Army SF would take notes. The difference always showed. I agree with Jake on the maturity of SEALs. Yeah, again, I mean, that's the difference between dealing with a 23-year-old kid that you're working with and a 35-year-old man, right? Like and that 23-year-old kid, me included, might be an arrogant dipshit at 35. He might be, again, completely different person. All right, we also have here, this is the biggest super chat I've ever had. James Swain with the $100 donation. Thank you, brother.
Nate.
That's our biggest donation ever. That's super generous, man. I appreciate you. As a civilian, I've trained with both groups and found that the GBs were able to get points across better. We'll talk about why that's a thing here in a second. Than Navy SEALs, because GB taught the why instead of the do it in my approach. Great podcast, gentlemen. Thank you. And Jake will be able to expand on this, but let me tell you why. The Green Berets' job operationally, I train, advise, and assist a foreign nation's military, and then I have to take them into combat. What does that mean? If I don't teach them well, I'm probably going to get shot in the face because the dude I'm teaching isn't learning well. So Green Berets are really the ultimate military teacher or the soft teacher. We have to be. Whereas a Navy SEAL, right? Jake, if you're a junior guy on a SEAL team, do you need to teach anybody anything, or do you just need to be able to be good at your job?
That's kind of a double-edged sword, because a lot of times, like I've seen a junior sniper go to sniper school without any platoon experience and come back and teach a lot. So it's very individualized, because you also have some E5s or E6s that can't teach anybody anything.
Right.
So it's not, we don't do a lot of teaching. Like I did some FID in the SEAL teams, and it was,
well, you're gonna do team cross training and things like that.
Yeah, but it wasn't.
But like when I deploy to, let's say, a JSET for 2 months, I spend every day teaching my foreign nation. That's all I'm doing. Teach.
Yep.
And I think it's not a knock on the SEALs for not being, and we do see this in the firearms instructor realm as well. Typically, your better instructors are Green Berets rather than Navy SEALs. Not because they're not as talented skill-wise, but that they don't have 15 years of teaching experience. Because teaching someone something is much different than doing it myself. As Jake, as a mentor to everybody, knows that you do, like, being able to do something really well and being able to transport that knowledge into someone else's brain, those are two different skills.
It's a very refined skill set, because everybody learns differently. So what you teach Joe and it works well, Susie doesn't understand it at all. And that's what you're getting at, right? Like the teaching ability of a Green Beret is inherent to the job. And so therefore, like, yeah, I mean, you guys are the best dudes at foreign internal defense, building armies and militias out of 300 dudes. You know, if you put a SEAL team in there and said, hey, man, you got to build an army out of 300 dudes, it ain't going to be as effective as a Green Beret. It'll probably be 50% as effective as a Green Beret A team doing the same thing. Maybe even 25% effective.
But I also tell people, like, there's like positives and negatives to that approach, right? You can't take 12 Green Berets and go take Fallujah, okay? So if you need a SEAL team or a Ranger battalion team to actually go hit an objective and do things unilaterally, our unit can't do that. I can't help you with that. So that's, like, again, depending on what unit you want to be a part of, understand, like, the jobs are different. Another super chat real quick from Taffy. Thank you. You're always donating. Appreciate you. It says, Nate, can we get a video recommendations on rifle setups for civilians? I do get asked that a lot. Yeah, I could talk about that. So hey, just so you guys know, we're starting a second channel soon. Once I finish the master's program, we're not far away. Valhalla Tactical Fitness. It'll be heavily focused straight on fitness and firearms related stuff. So we'll get into that once we do it.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to put my vote in there, Nate. Make sure it's piston driven. Okay. That's
pistol driven?
Piston.
Piston
like
driven. What do you mean?
If I'm setting up an AR platform, or like I'm an AK guy, I'm a 7.62 by 39 guy, it has to be piston driven.
Oh, I see.
Like I don't want to have to worry about, because I'm a big survival dude. Anytime I have a gun, that bitch is about survival. I cannot worry about my fucking shitty ass ammo having my gun go down in 300 rounds. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and in the firearms world, you get what you pay for, right? So that's also what I tell people too. It's like if you're gonna invest in a new AR platform and you want to spend $600, okay, right? But what you're gonna get, right? When this is also what I tell people as a self-defense firearms instructor is, when it comes to buying stuff like Jake's talking about, do you want to be cheap when it comes to buying something that you are going to maybe need to save your life? That's how I look at it. For me, I'm not trying. That's not where I'm trying to save money, guys. Is like skimping out on my self-defense weapon or whatever I'm doing. Okay, but yeah, we can get into that. All right, we're cooking. All right, I'm caught up on my super chats. Thank you, everybody. Very generous. Do you got any more, Jake?
I don't have any more super chats. I don't have any more questions. So all my questions got answered. Hey man, I just want to tell everybody, man, listen, me and Nate are doing this. You know, we figuring it out. We on episode 4. We dropped some content. I know I dropped a couple videos off of it that did well, like the day in the life videos. Hey man, like we're not putting out shorts anymore. Me, Nate, Jay over at Green Beret Chronicles, Aaron at One's Ready with Peaches, the Wardroom podcast. Like, look, we in this.
Also,
we
guys,
need y'all to support.
Which you guys are. I'm at over 700 right now, which is cooking.
I'm at 500, Nate. We
all right,
killing it, baby.
We're like almost double. I think we're over double where we started 4 weeks ago when we started. Thank you guys very much for showing up. This is like more than I get in my own lives. So
absolutely,
you guys like to watch us together more so. But also War Room podcast, guys. If you don't, we got 1,200 people there. If you aren't already subscribed, me and Jake are on there every single week. Go over to the War Room podcast, subscribe to the channel. It's awesome. We do the same type of thing. Add a few more, level-headed gentlemen over there than me and Jake are together, right? Me and Jake spiral out of control a little bit together. But one more super chat real quick. How do I feel about Sean Ryan being a drug runner? I just can't get over this guy. I don't trust him, but can't put my finger on it. I put him in my video. I talked about how he said he ran drugs. I don't know, man. Like, to me, I got nothing against Sean. I think Sean's got really interesting content, but like, I don't understand how you supposedly ran drugs in Colombia for 5 years and like you're free to talk about it and there's no repercussions of that. To me, there's like
CIA.
I was gonna say there's two things: either CIA involvement or you have brain fart. What is it? Immunity. Because
I'm gonna say this, Nate.
But I don't know, guys. I don't know enough about it. I like Sean's stuff though, so.
I'm going to throw this out there real quick, Nate, because this is a neat one. Girl at the Air Force Academy playing Truth or Dare with her roommates admits to killing a girl in high school.
Oh, my God.
Okay. Her and her boyfriend go to prison for a long time.
Wow.
Right? I think at some point people get ahead of their skis and start believing that they're bigger than they really are.
Well, we've seen that with a few people recently who've lost their social media credibility as well.
Yep. So back to that 2025 is not the place to be lying about shit because there's way too much access to information and you're going to get popped. So, like that's what I say about Sean Ryan shit. Like, yeah, Sean, you don't want to admit to too much, right? I got some skeletons in my closet I have never talked to anybody about.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I don't understand it. If that was me, let's say I transpose lives with Sean and I was doing that in my free time before I made the journey, you would never fucking hear me ever say a word about that to anyone ever. That would be buried so deep in so that's why when you guys say that, like, I don't know, guys. Yeah, I don't know. It's not something I would fucking talk about. I know it's not something Jake would talk about, but to have the confidence to talk about it freely on the Megyn Kelly show, you got some type of protection. There's no way you don't. Like, it's not a thing. But.
Sean Ryan ain't the smartest cat in the drawer, dog. He ain't the sharpest knife in the drawer, bro. Like, I'm just gonna call it.
Hey,
like,
that's seals attacking seals. I'm not getting involved.
I'm not attacking him. I'm just saying, like, I've seen it, man. Like, cats get ahead of their skis, man. And
yeah, I think you're right about that. You start forgetting that, like, especially in the social media space, that like free speech isn't necessarily everywhere, right? And if you start talking about some things like that, you can very quickly realize, like, oh shit. Or saying, Tim Kennedy's a great example. Okay, you said a bunch of shit you thought would not have any effect on your life, and it didn't for 20 years, and then all of a sudden 2025, literally 19 years later, your entire career burns to the ground out of fucking nowhere.
So they have a switch task force. A switch is the little button you put on the back of a Glock to make it go full auto, right? They have a social media switch department in Chicago PD now. They are turning the social media. They will hunt them down with the switch on the back of their gun. Like you're basically turning yourself in for having an automatic pistol in Chicago.
That's
like,
crazy.
Yeah, like, but you got all the dudes glocking it up, you know, like being gangsters on social media, going to prison for doing gangster shit. So
that's wild. All right, we are at almost an hour 15. I think that's what me and Jake are trying to keep it at, right about an hour 15 each week. Thank y'all for showing up. This has been our biggest episode yet in week 4. We're only in week 4, and we're bringing in over 1,000 viewers together. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for showing up. Just watching me and Jake rant about random stuff. We appreciate you guys. Love you. Thank you for all the super chats on both me and Jake's channel. You guys are super, super generous. And I just appreciate y'all coming in and listening to us, talk a bunch of shit. So anything else, man. Jake, before we sign off?
I don't. Do you shut this down, Nate? Do you?
Yeah, I think I think I'll do that.
All right, I'm gonna call you on the phone.
All right, brother. All right, guys. Yep. Thank you very much, and I'll see y'all Friday for the War Room lives, and then me and Jake next week.
Let's
go.
Out. Gone.